can come in when he gets in. I welcome everybody. I'll start with our opening prayer. We give thanks for the contribution of our pioneers, early settlers, and those who have fought the various wars for the fabric of Tennantfield community we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in thy sight, O Lord. Amen. Acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land that we are meeting on today. I'd also like to pay respect for the elders both past and present, the Juckabal, Kamilaroi and Bundjalung nations, and extend that respect to our other Aboriginal people present. Councillors, we have two apologies. Councillor Michael Petrie and Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, would someone like to move? Thank you, Councillor Forbes. Second, please. Councillor Murray, and I thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosing and declarations of interest? No. Business of the meeting to do with the 2 free waste weeks in lieu of the vouchers. Councillors will have a Merrill minute to do with that. We'll ask for a seconder. The Council requests the Chief Executive provide to the August 2018 Ordinary Council meeting report detailing the opportunity and implications of the reinstatement of waste vouchers scheme. The report to give due consideration to Section 8B of the Local Government Act 1993, Principles of Sound Financial Management and the level of community concern, and impact associated with the removal of the waste vouchers in the current year. Out of respect, I will ask for a second. Councillor Peters, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Mr. Mayor, can I interject there for a moment?
Comment, Councillor?
A comment, yes,
Yep.
it is. This meeting was called by 6 councillors.
Yep.
Why was the Merrill minute put in?
The Merrill minute was a way forward, Councillor, because to be fair to our staff, and I really appreciate the question. When we discussed it at the council meeting, and over a lot of debate, which is very, very good, what council should do, no one recorded the vote against going down here. So we need to be very aware of decisions council make which are to do with our staff. Because once we make a decision, that then guides staff, especially when there's financial implications with it, guides staff to go out and start to do it. That's what we want to get the staff to do. This very thing is in action. It started on Monday. So with respect, we need to be supportive of decisions that we make, not go back all the time. I have no problems with discussing it, but we have every opportunity to discuss it on that day, at length. And if a councillor wishes to have their vote recorded against such a thing, by all means, you're entitled to do that. Now, I thought the way forward, councillor, and once again, thank you for the question, is in August that we come back with a detailed report on it. We'll be able to add this first week of the free waste, because there'll be some statistics already. So that'll add to if it's an argument, that'll add to the debate about whether we've made the right decision or not. But we need to be very mindful of making decisions as a council and getting on with the job. So that's how it is.
Thank you.
All right. I'll take on board all the concerns to do with it. I haven't had many to me, one that I know of, but that's what we need to be mindful of and be supportive of our staff. Because they put a lot of time and effort through to our CE. He brought this to us some months ago, making council fully aware of the financial problems that we're going to face in that waste area. And council, I've never shifted away from we need to make some very, very tough decisions on how we're going to move forward with this to help our staff and get on with the job, whichever way we are. And already, this was one, I feel, as mayor, and the other one is which council has been fully supportive of. Also, the regional areas with our new JO, federal and state members are aware of it with our waste to energy, and this is something that council is getting a lot of support to do. It is a long shot and a big gig to do, but due to the good work that Terry as a CE has been putting into this, it is gained a lot of support and a lot of interest. So that's another positive thing. So that's basically what I'm at, council. So we are. But if we just sit on our hands and do nothing, and we could all turn around in the community and say, well, let's just jerk up the waste fees, that's fine. That's the easy out. But I think there's other ways. So please respect the decision to do that. I fully respect, and as you know, when councillors come to the mayor asking for an extraordinary meeting in the act, the mayor must, and that's exactly what I've done. So I have no problems with that. And I've called the extraordinary meeting, and that's what we're having.
But my understanding, Mr Mayor, is that when the mayoral minute is moved, it's something of urgency. Well, personally, I couldn't see the urgency in that.
Well, I could, Councillor, without getting in, out of respect, Councillor Murray, without getting into a one-on-one debate with you, okay? I could have done the same thing with the not calling the extraordinary meeting, because the same thing revolves around that. Emergency, a pressing matter, whatever it is. You know, I could have said it doesn't and just do a mayoral minute in our normal business paper. The same.
No doubt, Mr Mayor, but as time goes on, it will all unfold itself here as to why the extraordinary meeting is called.
Yep.
But at the moment, we won't go there.
Yep. But to add to your question, Councillor, by doing the mayoral minute today, whatever, if we just went into the debate today, wasn't going to resolve anything, because the Free Waste Week's on. It's on as we speak. So it is. So with respect to repeating myself, it needs to be run so we get some stats and how well it's going to be supported. And we'll have that information by August. So I think that's something that we really need. So that's why I've gone down that road. But I really appreciate your question and quite entitled to it. Okay? So we'll close the meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councillor. Yeah, question.
so I guess in August we'll get a full report on the success or otherwise of the Free Waste Week.
Can I just,
Yep.
yeah, Councillor, a very good question. I would expect that in how the mayoral minute demotion reads, that's what I'd be hoping for. At least we have something to go on. And I'll ask Terry for some comment
And
there.
then we can actually decide whether or not to like the concept and reintroduce the vouchers.
Well, once again, I'll ask, but it'll be in our business paper in August, in a report.
Okay.
Just some comment from Terry. Thanks, Jeff.
It's good to be back in such high level debate first up. Not easing into it or anything. The original imprimatur for the report was basically on, say, 3 fronts. The first one was to reduce the administration, because with a Free Waste Week, there's no administration. Someone turns up, puts their rubbish in, goes away again, providing it's not asbestos or one of the noxious mattresses or fridges and things like that. That was one of the first things. The second thing was to slowly get the public used to the fact that there's no such thing as a free lunch, because our waste fund's being subsidised by a general fund at the moment at $980,000 a year. Our sewer fund's being subsidised by the general fund, and our water fund is being subsidised by the general fund. And when you add all that up, we could probably do 3 or 4 bridges per year, timber bridges, and we've got 58 of them, and as of yesterday there's now 16 that's stuffed. There was only 15 last week, but we had another one break. When was that, late last week, or was it? Anyway, we found out about it. And the third thing was, as education opportunity to say the public saying, well, why are we doing this? Well, because we've got to get used to the fact that our waste fund's being subsidised by a general fund, and all the things that you want, and 58% of people in the community survey want more money spent on roads. We are having difficulty in spending more money on the things you want us to spend more money on when we're subsidising the other things that under the Act we don't need an SRV for and we could charge for. Now, I wrote to Kylie, and I've sent a copy to Andre. The high level thing is this: I don't think it's fair on the public, and I don't think the public could afford 3 or 4 hits. I'm talking about financial hits in a row or even together, in relation to the fact that we've only inspected 17 timber bridges, 15 of them need load limits immediately. One we didn't inspect has failed, similar to Bury Creek Bridge. It's got a cracked girder. It's 10 metres above the stream level. If it breaks and a vehicle were to go in, someone will die. So it's not like we can just prop it or do something easy with it. It's a catastrophic problem. Now, Andre and I have talked about this. I'm looking for a silver bullet at the moment, which is why I started the waste to energy up. It would have been easier for me to say, for a long period of time, the strategic asset planning wasn't optimal, and that's not my problem. Instead, I picked one which I knew the staff didn't have time to do, which was the waste to energy. And because it was a long shot, I didn't want my manager, Gillian, I didn't want my chief operating officer, Andre, spending their time on it, because if I'm wrong and it doesn't work, we'll be in bigger trouble, because we would have spent a whole heap of energy and time on something that, and in 2 years' time, if it falls over, we've then only got 6 months to fix up the Bunuroo waste cell, and we've lost 2 years' worth of work. So in parallel to what Gillian and Andre are doing in relation to Bunuroo, they're looking at more contemporary cell manufacturing and extending the life of the cell. In parallel to that, I'm looking at waste to energy, hoping that I can find a cost-neutral bullet, silver bullet. That's how dire things are at the moment. Not because of waste, it's only $1 million, and that's only 4% of our total expenditure. The waste isn't actually the issue. The issue is actually the bridges, which the general fund's subsidising the waste fund. The bridges are the issue because they're tricky, they're expensive, and they're absolutely essential for our industry, agricultural, education, quality of life. But if we don't find a solution for waste and water as well, and Andre and I have spoken about that, we're in a situation, and I'm not being funny, where we're old enough to have experienced more pragmatic and practical engineering solutions, because we work for councils that got no money. Whereas a modern engineer just looks up Google, finds the latest and greatest technological solution to something, and goes and writes a check and buys it, and the contractor goes and puts it in. That's not what we can afford to do here, and it's not what Andre and I want to do. So, as I said to Kylie last week, as I received a text when I was in Thailand from Kylie, and I sent it to Andre yesterday, the waste appears to be the game, but it's not. It's actually timber bridges. The water appears to be the game, but it's not, because we go and fix the water filtration plant up and it's good for another 50 or 70 years. We haven't got 50 or 70 years for the timber bridges. They're already 50 to 80 years old, and as fast as we look at them, we find problems with them. Andre showed me a picture yesterday.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Can, Mr. GM, can we deal with what we're talking about here?
Absolutely.
That is to say,
I thought I was.
Councillor.
I thought I was talking about the subsidy of the waste fund taking money away from the general fund, which is taking money away from our timber bridges. That's the bottom line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Forbes, you want to comment?
Yeah, I just wish to comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned through your mayor that the GM said that, or the GEC said that there was the administrative cost, which is one of, that's
One of the three.
one, and administrative cost of the vouchers. And I just find that a little bit hard to accept, because I mean, so you get 3 vouchers, so they hand in the voucher, etc. But I do notice that the vouchers are barcode, so I guess that contributes to the administrative cost. Now, Brisbane City Council, they offer 10 vouchers a year, but no barcode. So there's no so-called problem with them. You can hand these in anywhere. There's 10 of them they provide you. A limit of 100 kilograms for each voucher. Moreton Bay Regional Council. All you have to do is just show your driver's licence to say that you're a member of the council, or you're delivered in the council. So that's something. That's one of the reasons why I supported. That I want to have a rethink of this whole issue, because it just didn't add up to me that how could 3 vouchers be an admission nightmare for the council. You take the barcode off, you don't have to worry about it really. All they got to do is just hand it in and just say, well, count them up, and you don't have to swipe them to see who they're against and all this stuff. That's all I'm just saying.
Thank you, councillor, and I'm sure that we'll have a very healthy and proactive discussion in August when the report comes back. Councillor, yes?
Yeah, I just support what Councillor Paul just said. You remember that every assessment is a very substantial wage levy. Vouchers aren't being given out for nothing. Many of us are paying multiple times.
That's right.
And we get 3 vouchers a year, and I think it was Kylie's comment that over 50% of them aren't even used anyway. There is no physical cost. The old mate's up there at the transfer station. You drive in, he says, what have you got? I said, oh, domestic waste, recyclables, a bit of old wire, I'll take the wire over there, fine. Takes it out, so puts it on his desk. Job done. There's no extra cost to council, but he's up there anyway, that person. And you can't say that the bit of rubbish that's taken away will cost us the fact that we can't repair a timber bridge. There's no actual physical cost. The cost is there anyway. And don't forget that the people that are paying the assessments are paying it for it anyway. So this is, to me, after what Terry just said, and I agree with Brian there about, and with respect to Terry, we're talking about waste, not timber bridges. The cost of the voucher system wouldn't put one plank on another timber bridge.
Well, that'll all come out when we come back in August, councillor. Thank you for your comments. Councillor Berry, or the company, councillor, please.
I've got no idea why this meeting was called. It could have waited till the next month. I don't see any urgency in it. Everybody that I've explained to why we've done away with the vouchers haven't had a problem with it. I've had a few complaints. At the Liston dump, where I thought we'd get the most complaints, we've had none. Jackie's explained to people why we're doing it. And somewhere along the line, we've got to bite the bullet and realise that we're running a council, not a charity. So, and as far as Brisbane goes, I don't know if I've ever been to the Brisbane dump. You tear off and tear on, and you charge for whatever you over and above your voucher. So it is administered a cost to Brisbane City Council to run that. They could have a weighbridge. I think it costs a couple $100,000 to install a weighbridge. So it's not a piece of cake.
Biggest council in Australia, Brisbane City. Well, I don't know, to do with it, councillor, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think the ratepayers are, at a bit of a loss. I've had a few complaints about the vouchers. First of all, they sort of think, well, okay, they've got to store their rubbish, especially the blokes in the bush, store their rubbish for, 6 months before they can take it to the dump, otherwise they've got to pay for it. And they're not really happy about that, having to store the rubbish for that length of time. You get a week free, put it in the dump, which is fair enough. But with the voucher system, at least they could put it in when they felt like it. I know how to get 3 vouchers a year, but it seems to suit the public better. And these are the complaints I've had. The public really don't know what's actually going on. I think it should be explained a little bit better. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Councillor Rogan, obviously.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've received a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls, and the latest email was actually from a lady in town, concerned that 2 free waste weeks a year didn't suit her because, and a lot of other residents, I guess, because one of them is right now, which is over winter, and there's no green waste generated and that sort of stuff, so they don't need a free waste week right now. That's just one point of view, and there are a few points of view. Another email from the resident Sunnyside, which I think Councillor Fawkes got as well, and we both responded to. So obviously there's issues, but I think the real problem is council had given the residents something for some time, and now we've taken it away. My original thoughts on this when I was asked was, if we want to do that, do it in increments and drop it down to two waste vouchers instead of 3. But in light of all the complaints we've had, the motion up there, which is calling for a report from the CE next month, I'd like to, if I could, propose an amendment to it.
Councillor, it's been moved and voted on. I apologise for that. That you weren't here, but would have been any problem, but anyway, so we can Merrill minute. I didn't really, you know, out of respect, and I always do, ask for a second, but the Merrill minute doesn't need to. But I do respect councillors' opinion, if they've asked for one, it's been seconded, and moved. And in fairness to our staff to repeat themselves, but give them some time to come back with a detailed report, so we can, next meeting, we can thrash this out properly. And I look forward to it. Arguments on both sides. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think that the council has a duty of care here. When I called up the EPA, they were very, very steadfast in what the message they put across to me was, you cannot burn rubbish on your property, nor can you bury rubbish on your property, and we will be watching. Thanks to technology today. Now, I felt the council should have pointed that out to the public. And I think they do have a duty of care to point that out to the public, because as the EPA pointed out, penalties are extremely severe.
No,
They do know that,
Okay.
but the general public doesn't know that. There's
you're
no
right.
way of knowing that,
Yeah.
because they don't deal directly with the EPA. And I feel for those people trying to do the right thing by taking their domestic rubbish to the dump every 2 weeks, which is what some of them are doing out here in the West, I think they were doing the right thing environmentally and every otherwise, but neither a captivated audience. They'll have to do as council says and pay what council says. And that's how they view it. And I think it's terribly, terribly wrong. And I think it's a total balls up, if you like. Total balls up.
Well, that's your opinion, councillor.
That's not my opinion at all. I'm just conveying a message on to you. And whilst I'm here, Mr Mayor, a message I got this morning, and I asked me to pass it on to council, and I'm happy to do so. They said from Tamworth in the south, Armadale, Guyra, Glendinas, council have bent over backwards to help people in the bush at this current time. And council here in Penfield, if anything, has tinged it with a little bit of sadism. I'll give you a minute to digest that.
Well, I think I need.
There's a sadistic approach to this, of what they're doing, trying to do to the general public out there. People who are suffering, the mental health issues out there alone, they don't need to be kicked in the tummy. There's no point in kicking them while they're down. That's my point of view. That's not my point of view, actually. I'm speaking for somebody else here, for other people. I think it's absolutely atrocious what's being done.
Anyway, we look forward to the report to come back in August. So we do. Thank you all for your comments, and we'll close this extraordinary meeting. I have one.